Ladies and gentlemen, from the Amazon rainforest to the Congo Basin, from the savannas of Africa to the prairies of North America, the beautiful coast of Rio de Janeiro, all the way to the Sahel coast and the beaches of Mogadishu. Forests are vanishing, water levels are rising, and in turn, people's livelihoods are being disrupted. And we are, in a nutshell, living in a planet in crisis. Therefore, when the President of Brazil and his government chose this venue and this city adjacent to the Amazon forest as the venue for COP30, it is meant to inspire us to think as to what we have and what we need to save that Mother Nature gave us. For those that still continue to question the impact of climate change, perhaps a close look at the unfortunate disasters unfolding in the Caribbean and other small island countries should be enough to give us an alarming bells. The intensity of the Hurricane Melissa is a telling case of climate change impact and it is deadly consequence. I speak on behalf of my country, Somalia, a nation that contributes to less than 0.019% of global green gas emissions, and yet is ranked as one of the top 3 most hard-hit countries in the front line of climate change crisis. For Somalis, climate change is not a distant future. It is here and happening. It is the mother that has to walk tens of kilometers to fetch water. It is the pastoralist that is losing his herds in a matter of no time due to recurring droughts. And it's the child that ends up in a camp suffering from hunger and subject to disease. This is not a statistics, but a story of human suffering and survival. Ladies and gentlemen, Somalia comes to the COP30 with hope for action, armed with clear plans and strategies. We have submitted our 3rd generation NDC and advanced our National Adaptation Plan, both embedded in our National Transformation Plan. Our priorities are very clear. The first priority is adaptation and resilience at a large scale. Our National Adaptation Plan, estimated at $6.3 billion by 2025, we seek partnership that builds early warning systems, climate-smart agriculture, resilient health systems, and climate-proof infrastructure. For Somalia, adaptation is not a charity, but justice. Particularly women and youth who bear the heaviest burdens must be empowered and engaged. Secondly, the issue of access to climate finance is the top priority for countries like Somalia and other similar fragile and conflict-prone countries. Globally, climate finance has reached over $1.5 trillion in 2022, yet fragile and conflict-affected countries together received less than 5% of that total. In Somalia, actual flows were under 300 million by the year 2020, which is less than 1% of what is required to adapt to climate change. We call for more grants, fewer loans, and faster access and support that strengthens national systems. Timely finance is the bridge between vulnerability and viability. In an era of decreasing ODI and shrinking multilateralism, perhaps climate finance could be the only source for financing development in countries like ours. Third, we welcome the recently established Loss and Damage Fund. In the case of Somalia, recent estimates estimate direct climate-related losses in Somalia to about $2.8 billion. So we are certainly facing the brunt of climate change in terms of damage in the form of livestock loss and agrarian communities devastated. We welcome the new fund, but urge rapid capitalization and action because every delay deepens suffering and erodes hope. Fourth, the issue of energy transition is a priority for Somalia and Africa at large. We intend to transition to green energy, but in a just and transferable manner. Somalia has a huge potential in solar and wind, but that needs a huge investment in the form of decentralized mini-grids, solar irrigation, and clean cooking solutions. And finally, climate impact and adaptation is intrinsically linked to peace, stability, and they are both inseparable. In Somalia, droughts and floods displace families, fuel conflict, and undermine stability. That's why climate action is peaceful action, an investment in security and dignity. Excellencies, the Paris Agreement promised equity, yet the gap between promise and practice continues to widen. Those least responsible must not bear the heaviest burden. Finance must be accessible, technology must be transferable, and decision-making must be inclusive, so that vulnerable nations can shape their own climate future. We aspire to a future where resilience drives peace, prosperity drives dignity, and a future where no child goes hungry because the rains have failed. A future where renewable energy lights every Somali village. As the poet Warsan Shire reminds us, no one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. So when communities that are leading their normal lives in their normal habitat are struck again and again by impact of climate change in various forms and shapes, they end up becoming IDPs on the outskirts of big cities. For millions of Somalis, climate change has turned home into a shark. Let's work together to tame it, invest in resilience, invest in peace, and invest in Somalia.